Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. As you can sort of tell, we've got a sunny day here because there's a bit of brightness in here. It's cold, but it's nice. Okay, today we've got an album ranking, and this is a bit of glam metal, hair metal, whatever you'd like to call it, and it's Poison. Now, they were formed way back in 1983 in a place called Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. And it's the most successful lineup of the band is drummer Ricky Rocket, bassist Bobby Dole, lead guitarist CC DeVille, and Bret Michaels. Now, they were very big in the 90s. They sold over 40 million records. That's a lot. I've seen them. I saw them at Monsters of Rock, and I thought they were really good. They're just rock and roll with a bit of glam. And over their career, they have released 7 albums. Some I do like, and some I really don't like. So there's a bit of a mixed bag here. So here we go. So coming in at number 7, we have the 4th album that was released in 1993, and it's called Native Tongue. And it was the only album that featured on lead guitar Richie Colson, because CC DeVille was fired. So it's Bret Michaels on lead vocals, acoustic and rhythm guitars and harmonica, Richie Colson on the lead guitar, piano, mandolin, doorbell bass, backing vocals, Bobby Dahl on the bass, Ricky Rocket on the drums and tribal drums. Special guests, Jay Winding on piano, Billy Powell played some piano. We've got Mike Finnegan organ, Tower of Power horns, Timothy B. Schmidt from Eagles doing backing vocals, and Tommy Funderburk on backing vocals. And we've got a choir on here and Sheila Reedus thing. It opens up with this little thing called Native Tongue, which is Ricky Rocket on the tribal drums. It's pretty good. Then we have, it's only a little thing, but it's pretty good. Then we have The Scream. Great bass line from Bobby Dahl, but the rest of it's pretty ordinary. Stand, it's just generic rock and roll, glammy rock of the period. It's nothing special. Stay Alive, never really got into this track, doesn't do nothing for me. Until You Suffer for Some Fire Raced, it's a ballad, it's typical MTV fodder, bit drab. Body Talk, once again, it's just generic rock of the 90s. Bring It On Home, all over the place. The guitar work from Richie Colson's not brilliant. He wasn't for me, what he did just wasn't a decent guitar player. Then Richie's acoustic thing, it's alright. Ain't That the Truth, probably the best track on here. It does resemble something from their earlier albums, and it has got probably Richie's best guitar solo that he did. Then we have Theatre of Soul. It's alright, it's ordinary. Strike Up the Band, yeah, it's got the proper thing. Bret Michaels sounds great on it. He's not a bad singer, he's certainly better than Vince Neil. Ride Child Ride, great bass line from Bobby, and that's about it. Blind Faith, alright. Excuse my French, Bastard of a Thousand Blues, Bastard Son of a Thousand Blues. It's all over the place. Now, there's a lot of songs on this album that are 15, and they're all sound the same. Not a big fan of this album, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Coming in at number 6 from 2007, it's the 7th album, and it's called Poisoned. Basically, it's a cover. They're doing covers of other people's stuff. And on here is the classic lineup: Bret Michaels, CC DeVille, Bobby Dole and Ricky Rocket. First, Jim Gorman does some backing vocals. Now, the first track they ever go at is the Sweets' Little Willie. And I must admit, they do it justice. It's not a bad version. I think you can tell what they were listening to as they were growing up. And they do a good version of it. Really like that. Next, they have a bash at David Bowie's Suffragette City. And it's the best cover on this album. Like, once again, it's two that keep it true. Then we have Alice Cooper's I'll Never Cry. Now, I prefer Alice's version. This is a bit sloppy for me. Doesn't work. Then we do a version of Tom Petty's I Need to Know, which is a fantastic song, but this version, no. Sorry. Then we have Can't See You, which is a track by the Marshall Tucker Band. Pretty decent version of it, I don't mind that. Then What I Like About You from the Romantics. I don't do a bad version of it. I've heard better though. Then they do Dead Flowers from Rolling Stones and absolutely muller it. Then they do a Cars song, Just What I Needed, and they muller that as well. Then they do Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss. Not very good. Squeezebox, we'll talk about that in a moment. Then You Don't Mess Around with Jim from Jim Croce. It's a pretty good version of it. And then there's Your Mama Won't Dance, and we'll talk about that later as well. And then they do their second best cover on here is Grand Funk Railroad's We're American Band. Like most of these cover albums bands do, some of the tracks really work and some of them are just awful. And it's the same case here. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay. Coming in at number 5, the fifth album from the year 2000. And it's Crack a Smile and More. New guitarist, Blues Sorenso. They fired Richie Colson and got this guy in. Crazy. So it's Brett, Ricky, Bobby and Blues. And there is a bit of CC DeVille on this. Just some at the end of the album. So the first track on this one is called Best Thing You Ever Had. Typical voice from Brett. Solid enough. I don't mind this track actually. Shut Up and Make Love. Glammed up rock and roll. It's not too bad. Baby Gets Around. My favourite track on here. I do like Blues's guitar riffs on that. It's pretty good and it's a fine vocal from Brett. Cover of a Rolling Stone, which is a Doctor and the Hooks Medic. Yeah. Move on. Be the One. I do like some of their ballads. This one's quite good. It's a very strong vocal from Brett. I think these and Cinderella are probably good at these power ballads in this period. And this art's pretty solid. I like that. Mr. Smiley. I love Ricky Rockets drumming on this. Him and Bobby Dahl work so well together. They're very tight. Excellent little track. A lot of fun. Sexual Thing. Very generic. Yeah. Not very good. Lay Your Body Down. Great vocal from Brett. Like the song. No Ring, No Gets. It's not too bad. I like Blues's guitar solo on it. That's the Way I Like It. This is okay. Tragically Unhip. It's typical sort of rock and roll style from Poison. Doing as Seen on My TV. Sort of the generic stuff. Then we get some outtakes, and this is the bits that CC DeVille play on. One More for the Bone. It's nice. Set You Free. Some actually a good track, better than some of the tracks that made the proper album. And Crack a Smile, which is an unfinished but demo. It's quite nice. Not a bad album, but they could never really replace CC DeVille on guitar. So I'm going to give that one an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, number 4. The 6th album from 2002 called Hollyweird, and CC DeVille's back in the band, so you've got that classic lineup of Poison, and it's the first project they've done since Fresh and Bud. So Brett, CC, Bobby and Ricky, with a few Dan Wagner on keyboards, Mark Paul on backing vocals, Christy and Cliff Carborough on backing vocals. First track is the title track, Hollyweird. I love this. I love the slide guitar from CC. Lovely little track. Then they do Squeeze Box, the Who cover. Sorry, I don't like this. It's too heavy. It's shocking. Shooting Star, great little track. Love the bass line on this. Nice to hear CC's guitar. Nothing flashy, just getting on with it. Wishful Thinking, not a bad track. Ricky's drumming's pretty decent on it. Get Yes Some, typical Poison track. Nothing wrong with this. Bobby Dell's bass line is terrific. Do like that track. Emperor's New Clothes, not too bad. Once again, it's got some terrific bass work from Bobby. My favourite track on here is Devil Woman. Nothing to do with Cliff Richard, but it's my favourite track on here. It's good old-fashioned harmonica, some nice little riffs, catchy tune, very good track. Wasteland, not a bad song actually. Some nice little riffs from CC. Living on the World, one of the worst tracks on the album, flat as a pancake. Stupid, Stoned and Dumb, just a proper Poison track. Home, Brett's Story, yeah. Rockstar, it's alright, it's got some decent riffs. Not a bad album, you know. It's nice that they got the band back, you know, the original, the classic lineup, but it hadn't got the same sparkle. I don't think it lost its sparkle, but it's got some decent tracks on it. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Now the top 3 are their obviously their first 3 albums, and I think this is when they was at their peak. So coming in at number 3 is the debut album from 1986, Look What the Cat Dragged In. Bret Michaels, CC DeVille, Bobby Dole and Ricky Rocket. And the first track is a little single they did called Cry Tough. Okay, it's a cheesy 80s glam rock MTV special, but it's not too bad. I Want Action, this was always on MTV. It's not too bad. It was something at the time. I Won't Forget You, a nice little ballad. Play Dirty, really heavy riffs in this. It's just good old-fashioned glam rock metal. Then we get the title track, Look What the Cat Dragged In. I do like this. Really heavy. CC DeVille's guitars are good. Great vocal from Brett. Then the big single off this, Talk Dirty to Me. I remember when this came out, it was very, very popular, especially at the like rock discos. So, you know, there was a lot of rock discos. You put this on, and everybody would be up on the dance floor dancing to it. Especially the girlies. They love this, and it's got a great little guitar solo from CC DeVille. Want Some, Need Some. Yeah, lots of innuendos. Blame It On You. It's just typical mid-80s glam rock, MTV fodder sort of thing. Number One Bad Boy. actually my favourite track on here. It's just got a really catchy riff. It's a cheesy song, but it's just quite good. And then Let Me Go to the Show. It's not too bad. Okay, I always thought this album was purely made for the MTV people. There's lots of cheesy songs on here, but this album has got so many memories. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10, purely on that. Okay, coming in at number 2 is the second album from 1988, Open Up and Say Ah. Same lineup, Brett, CC, Bobby, Ricky, with John Purdell doing some keyboards and horn. First track, Love on the Rocks. There's some great riffs from CC on this. You know, it's pretty decent track. Nothing but a good time. Very 80s glam rock, but it was okay. Back to the Rocking Horse. It's got some great guitar work from CC on it. I do like that. Good Love. Brett's vocals are pretty strong. Tearing Down the Walls, one of the MTV tracks. It's alright, bit of fun. Look But You Can't Touch. I do like that. Some driving riffs, some great Ricky Rocket drumming. Fallen Angel, a proper ballad that's absolutely not very good. But there is one track on here I do love, and it's probably one of their biggest songs ever, and it's Every Rose Has Its Thorn. So it's probably one of Brett's best songs. It's probably one of his best vocals. And I do like this song. It was very, very popular back in the day. And then they do a cover of Loggins and Melissa Messina's You Mama Won't Dance. I do like that. This is as good as the original. And I think Poison do a very good version of that. It's another catchy track. Bad to Be Good. Typical of what was going on in them days. Yeah, I brought this back in the day. I listen to it now and I think, well, this is a little bit dated. But again, it's nostalgic. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.3. But my favourite and my number one Poison album is their third album. This is when they sort of grew up, and this is when I saw them at Donington, and it's called Flesh and Blood, released just before Donington that year in July of 1990. So we have got, of course, Bret Michaels, CC DeVille, Bobby Dahl and Ricky Rocket, with John Webster doing the keyboards and pianos. Now this has got one of these great little intros. It's 1 minute 14. It's called Strange Days of Uncle Jack. I like this. It's atmospheric, it's spacey, and it really leads into my favourite track, and my favourite track by Poison. It's a little track called Valley of the Lost Souls. It's just got some really mean riffs, and they've grown up. They've gone away from the hair metal's gone. This is 1990, a new look, and this is just a terrific track. Well produced as well. Then we have the title track, Flesh and Blood Sacrifice. Strong track, strong riffs, really great bass line. Then we have this little 1 minute 20 tonsil Swamp Juice solo. Little bit of swamp rock. It's really good. It's acoustic-y slide guitar. I do like that. And that goes into another really catchy track called Unskinny Bop. Great bass line from Bobby. I think it's such a fun track. Let It Play. They've just seemed to have matured from 1988, and this is an excellent track with some good drumming. Life Goes On, very popular song, but not my favourite. It's probably my least favourite on the album. Come Hell or High Water, absolutely killer riffs. Ricky's drumming on this is great. It's a solid track. Ride the Wind that comes next, another really good track. Don't Give Up an Inch, very simple rock and roll track, and I've got no problem with that. Keep it simple, and it's a good track. It's a great vocal from Brett. Something to Believe with, another ballad, but it's not a cheesy ballad. Some nice lyrics from Brett. Well put together, nice song. Ball and Train, I love this. It's got a bluesy sort of slide guitar. The acoustic guitar's great on it. Life Loves a Tragedy, not a bad track. And then the last track is Poor Boy Blues, another rock and roll number with some great riffs on it. I would say this is the most mature album Poison made. They went away from the glam. They just went into this just rock and roll, and there's some great stuff on this. I do like this album. I do play it a lot, even today. It's sort of this has always been my guilty sort of glam rock band, along with Cinderella. And I always thought the Cinderella and Poison were better than Motley Crue. Sorry, guys. I've always preferred this because of their simplicity, rock and roll. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. So there we go, a little bit of Poison. They don't get a lot of mention on YouTube, so that's why I thought I would do them. Okay, coming up next is Retro Ranking. And we're going to do some deep cut tracks from one of my favourite bands, AC/DC. I've gone through my AC/DC collection and found some really good tracks. Some of them have been played, but most of them have never been played live. Some of them have never even seen the light of day on tours. So got 10 for you there. So see you soon. Bye for now.